let's get into this game. Woo-wee. I'll say this about our Seahawks this year so far. There is no doubt about this. You can hate on the defense. You can love up on the offense. You can get as much an undulation as you can in disappointment. But what you cannot deny is that the Seattle Seahawks team is damn entertaining to watch. And at least these are some fun football games if there is indeed a little bit of pain with the sugar, so to speak. This game was a game about Geno Smith to me. I must have spent, I think, about the last 2 hours of the prior stream when we did a live stream game last week of hammering on the fact that Geno Smith was not the problem and issue with this football team. And not only was he not the issue, but he was one of the things that was going right for this team. He was one of these things that was excelling. It was me, as I've continued to do for months on end, trying to push back a little bit against this narrative of we know what Geno is. No, we don't. This kind of game shows you that. 23 of 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was efficient. He made great throws. He had ultimate control at the line of scrimmage. He's not just hearing the play in his ear and then walking up to line of scrimmage, all like Jared Goff back in his days when he was early on the scene, and McVay would get him the play 15 seconds early so he'd get the line of scrimmage, and McVay could continue to tell him what he needed to do with what the defense was doing across from him at the line. You're not doing that with Geno. Geno's coming up and he's got full command and full control up there. He's changing plays. He's changing into running plays when they've got a light box, and that's bringing good results for them. And then he's making great throws as well. When he hits his back foot, he knows where he wants to go with the ball, and he is always seemingly right this year in where he's deciding to go with that ball. It's to the guy who is open on the play. I'm not saying he isn't missing some throws here or there, or he might miss some reads from time to time, but more often than not with this guy right now, and what you're seeing from him is he's absolutely locked in. He knows what the defense is trying to do to him. He knows where he needs to go with the football. There's a couple of throws in this game that really just stand out in this respect of things. There's the deep throw to Metcalf down the sideline where it's just, I think, at the start of the second half, and he just loops this ball just nicely right over the top, hits his back foot. It isn't even like DK's got a lot of separation on that play. He just perfectly dropped that into the right space, which told me at that moment as we went in that second half, offensively, we're going to be fine this week. There's not going to be that drop-off because Geno's feeling it. I don't know if he's fully on in like a zone in this particular game, but he was feeling very comfortable and very good back there against this Detroit Lions defense. And then you have the other throw that stands out to me where we're later on in the game, and it's a third down. And the Lions bring a very, very well-designed blitz into Geno's face at that point. It's a kind of a delayed blitz right at the last second. The offensive line picks it up excellently. Geno falls back a little off his back foot to give Tyler Lockett a little bit more time to get up the football field, and then just sort of pillow softly just throws that ball up over the top to let Lockett then cut off. So Lockett could recognize the ball was off of his intended initial route, cut it off to come back inside because essentially Geno was throwing where there weren't any defenders because they had sent so many defenders in on the blitz. It's just time and time again this year, throw after throw, play after play, Geno has been great. Great. Not merely good, not merely what we thought or we expected. He has been phenomenal, and he deserves now to finally maybe get some props from the Seahawks fan base. I know many of you out there loved yourself Russell Wilson, and there's still some bitterment about the fact that Russell had to move on and go somewhere else. But that shouldn't color your vision to how well Geno's playing right now, because he is phenomenal. He is the reason right now, as much as anything, that we're 2-2 on this young season. So fantastic game by Geno Smith. This was the game of his career, in my opinion, and that's coming on the heels of what I thought might have been the game of his career last week. This guy was not a finished product off of what he showed with the Jets or serving as a backup role these last couple of years. He is much more, and he is showing you that. We also have to give another guy who's gotten a lot of shade from the fan base, a lot of props on the back end of this game, and that is one Shane Waldron. Your young offensive coordinator last year was pretty rough at times. His game calling was all over the place. There didn't seem to be a design to the offense or a method by which they were really trying to attack. It was very disjointed. It was a lot of the old. This year, it has been nothing but the new. Shane Waldron has done an awesome job of implementing his offense in totality. It is the short passing attack. It is the West Coast passing attack. Many people wrongly through the first couple of weeks thought this was just simply them protecting Geno and they don't want to throw deep, and so they're just trying to keep him kind of locked in and protected. And maybe there was a little bit of that. I think it was more for the offensive tackles, as Coach Carroll once referenced, but it's also by the designs of this offense. Bill Walsh created this offense with the 49ers to pass the ball, pass it early, pass it short, get it in your players' hands, and let them utilize yak up the football field yards after the catch in order to then gain your yards. And this was in opposition to those teams at the time who were going to run it on first down, run it on second down, and then finally, okay, we'll throw it on third down if you make us. So it's meant for you to throw on early downs. It's meant for you to throw short. That's, again, more of what you saw in this game, and it's a very good adjustment by Coach Carroll, who I'm going to bang on in a second here for his defense, but you've got to give him props here in letting Waldron run this offense, letting him let Geno throw 30 times in this game or 44 times last week, recognizing that it's ineffective, recognizing that it's ineffective to run up against stacked boxes where defenses are gearing up to stop your run. Don't go up the hill, go down the hill. And that's what this offense is doing right now. He was calling plays as well that had this defense thrown off where you thought it would be a run play, then it was a pass. He's doing a good job as an offensive coordinator of staying a little bit ahead of the ball this year and how he's calling games. The Niner game was maybe a little bit rough, but that Niner defense is legit as well, isn't it? So big props to Shane Waldron on the offensive side of things. Also, Rashaad Penny. Another guy, this is going to be a little bit of a common theme here in this post-game discussion, but another guy who gets a lot of shade from the fan base at times and really knocked at times. Despite those moments, he shows you where he has some special traits. And I saw it this year really taking the form in the last couple of weeks and how much love this guy Kenneth Walker gets versus people still remembering we have Rashaad Penny on the roster, that we spent $5.75 million on a one-year deal to bring him back. This is our bell cow. This is the guy that needs to get more carries than Kenneth Walker. I like Walker. He's also flashed at times, but the bottom line on this game doesn't deny you, and that is Rashaad Penny runs 17 times for 151 yards. Walker gets himself 8 carries, only manages 29 yards on either side of it. It wasn't that Walker was playing poorly. It's just more about how well Rashaad Penny is playing. He also had some good holes in this game. We've got to give a lot of flowers to the offensive line in this one. I look at the stats. Did the Lions have one single sack in this game? No. A mere three quarterback hits over the course of this game, despite the fact you dropped back 30 times. The offensive line from the rookies to the inside did a great job. They were creating holes in the running game, which has been absent at times, helping the Seahawks team get out to 33 carries. You ran the ball for 235 yards in this game. Obviously, Geno Smith came in with 7 carries for 49 yards on his own end of it. And again, props back to Waldron for having the cojones to run some of the inside quarterback sneaks as he did in this game and to do it on 2 different occasions to great success, something that they saw on the tape and recognized and then took advantage of. So the running backs did good overall, but Rashaad Penny showed you why he can be a little bit of a difference maker, a separator in this element of things and what he brings to the running back position. Hopefully they can build on this upon the future. You're not going to get a team like the Lions defense that you're going to face week in and week out. I'm not going to deny the fact that though I'm getting hyped up again about this offense, we've got to put it in perspective in the respect of this is a Detroit Lions team that is one of the worst defenses in football. I must acknowledge that. There's no doubt about that. But again, this comes on the heel of what you saw from them last week and what you saw over the course of the season as a general theme from the offense, which is a whole lot more encouraging signs than to be disgruntled about. A whole lot more to feel better about for what we have coming down the future, as opposed to saying, I don't know if we have the answer here with the offensive coordinator. I think we might have ourselves that answer here now. Defensively, this is the flip side of it. And this is the part where things were a little bit rough in this particular game. And by a little bit rough, I mean a lot of bit rough. The Detroit Lions came into this game absent their up-and-coming rising star running back in DeAndre Swift. I've left them with inside kind of meat grinder running backs as far as that stands. They were also down 2 of their top 3 wide receivers in DJ Shark and Amon St. Brown. So they were light as far as skill makers go. You really had one guy, and TJ Hawkinson was the one guy you'd have to worry about catching the ball out there. You allowed him to set a franchise record in this football game. Now, maybe Jared Goff was just targeting a ton of times and giving those opportunities, and TJ got himself 12 of the targets of Goff's 39 throws, so he got a good amount of them. But the defense continues to struggle all across the board. There is very little, as I say, that you can lean back on and feel great about in what this defense is doing right now. Goff was 26 of 39 for 378 yards. Then you gave up 25 carries for 145 yards on the ground. The saving grace in this game is that Kobe Bryant implemented the Charles Peanut Tillman punch, got himself a fumble caused on a play where he had given up a play for about 15 yards. So he offset that a little bit with that one. And then you had Tariq Woolen, who was able to undercut a route, get his first pick 6. And we'll talk about Tariq in a second in that regard. It was great to see from that aspect of it, but those were your only 2 lone bright spots really from the defense. I don't know where the adjustment's going to come from, what they're going to be able to do going into the future with this. Some of this is they're just stuck with the personnel that they got. Cody Barton and Jordan Brooks are playing like two of the worst tandem linebackers in the league in combination of what they're doing. They are a part of the problem here. I thought the defensive line today played a little bit better. Monet showed up at times. Poona Ford showed up at times. Quentin Jefferson got himself a pressure. But the linebackers continued to be issues, not only in the run game, but you saw it out there today in coverage in both of them. Early on, the first touchdown of the game, the Lions that was given up to the Lions was completely on Jordan Brooks, giving up a big play deep down the field, as we've seen a couple of different times this year. Then you've got Cody Barton, who did make a play in coverage in this game, but then also came back and had a situation where he's picked on a little bit in coverage as well. And he's got TJ Hawkinson up on the sideline, could easily knock him out, could easily just wrap him up. Seems to kind of give a half-hearted effort in pushing him out of balance as though TJ was going to give up on his own. TJ fights through it, runs right back up the field for another big play, kept the Lions in that game. So again, the struggles of the linebacking core do continue to show. The secondary I thought was okay. Some of this is a little bit of just the soft zone coverage that you're running. Kobe Barton is probably a little bit overmatched being aligned in the slot. He's more of an outside guy as it stands, and he got picked on a little bit. As I said, the linebackers got picked on. Most of what you're having the corners do is fall back into that cover 3 stuff that they've done in the past. So they're just dropping into deep zones. And then what you have in Jared Goff is a guy who's played the Seahawks defense for years. So if he sees the Seahawks defense falling back into their old machinations, he's going to go, okay, I'm just going to be hitting post routes all day then. Because what you have is then you have the single high safety essentially going back. You got the corners and dropped off coverage. You got the post routes, which will then clip through. Safeties up here, corners up here, over here. You're right there wide open for those post routes all day. And Goff really likes that because those post routes are one where he drops on a 5-7 step drop. He can hit his back foot and let it rip and know there's not going to be a defender undercutting the route. Certainly not a linebacker undercutting the route. So I'd love to be able to say this defense said something that we could say that they could build upon in the course of this game, but they don't. They really don't right now. It is all struggling. It is all bad. It is very much like a sieve. It's reminiscent of the last couple of years where through the first couple of weeks of the season, you're going, is this defense going to be like record-setting bad? You had 2020 where through 9 games, they were on pace to give up more yards in the air than anybody else in NFL history. That was through 9 games. Last year, after the Titans game, after the Vikings game, you're going, okay, what's going on here? What are we doing here? It's not coming together here as of yet. And maybe my only hope in this is that over the last couple of years defensively, you have been able to find a way by hook or crook to get this thing tampered down. But nonetheless, it remains right now a league worst defense, and they have got to find something that they can do with it. We can't just merely lean back and say, well, it's a rebuild year. I think that they're going to have to make some kind of move at this point. I'm not advocating for aggressiveness. I'm not saying give up a lot of future draft capital, but find that Carlos Dunlap move. Find that Quandre Diggs type equivalent move that you can make to help this defense out, because we need more hands on deck. From a special team standpoint today, this was a little bit of a struggle. I thought Jason Myers kicked really well. He missed one kick, which was really not on him in the respect of, if you look at it, it was a bad hold, and the snap was a little late getting down by Dixon because the snap was so bad. He did kick a long one, 56-yarder today, which I think is his longest kick of the year so far. So Myers was okay. You didn't actually have a single punt in this game, folks. So Michael Dixon was just, he was on the recliner. He was chilled back. He had a cigar, a little sifter with some brandy in it. He's like, all right, mate, I'll be back here. I'll be back here, mate. You guys got it today. And thank God for that. So glad to see Dixon. He's had a sore leg sometimes from all the punts we ask him to make. It's good to see that he was able to just kind of chill and keep it easy today. Where you really struggled with your special teams today is the punt returning. Tyler Lockett had a fumble. He's supposed to be the guy back there to keep it held down. At this point, I'm telling Tyler, and here's where I'd like to just be with the punt return game as we go forward. Hey, you're just fair catching now. Fair catching or letting it go. That's your only speed. Those are your 2 speeds. You're running a 2-speed return game. Because I don't trust any of the guys behind Tyler Lockett. I think there's a reason he's out there on the football field as it is right now. And I really don't want him returning the ball, say nothing of the injury risk that you get with Tyler, him in the open field running around like this. He's so important with him and DK, what they do on the outside. You want to keep those guys steady and upright. And remember, last time Tyler got injured, back in that Niner game a couple of years ago, it was on a punt return. Also, big props to DK Metcalf as just a final word here on this post game. 7 catches, 149 yards on 10 targets. He's had a little bit of a slow start to this year. I've not been a guy to knock him, though, because I think he's still drawing a lot of double coverage out there. You saw this in this particular game at times when they showed the all 22 shots, and you had 2 line defenders just bracketing him very tightly. He's getting a lot of respect league-wide. He may not always get all that respect from local fan base and some fans out nationally who think he's overrated, but I'll tell you who doesn't think he's overrated. Defensive coordinators. I'll tell you who doesn't. Secondaries don't. He went against Jeff Okudah at times in this game, and he flat out beat him one-on-one on a multitude of times. He's a danger. He's a weapon. I love the fact that we re-signed this guy into the long-term future. He's such a great, him and Lockett, their 2 games work really well off of each other. And good again to see the Seahawks offensively, Waldron and all that creativity that he's employing and all of that fitting to the designs of the offense. He's also building on that problem that was there last year where he was not able to really acclimate and get DK involved consistently. And so instead it sort of fell back into this realm of, well, he's being double teamed, so we got to go away from him. This year, they're finding a way to work the ball to him. It's beautiful to see, and I think it's going to bring about his most productive year this upcoming season. It's an ugly win. It's a tough win. It's a win that you have as much you may feel as bad about as you do feel good about, but feel nothing but wonderful about this win. W's are hard to get in the NFL. As Max Strong once said back some 20 years ago, you never apologize for a victory in this league. Don't turn it over that bad. Don't clutch at the pearls. Don't wring the hands. It's a win. Let's be happy with that win. We're 2-2. We're still in this season. It's not over yet. I know many of you out there say there's no chance this team can get the playoffs. There's no chance this team can do this. There's no chance. Look at how bad the defense is. How can you playoffs?
Playoffs?
How can you even say playoffs?
Don't talk about playoffs.
How can you even say that, Brandon? Because I got faith. I got hope. And I never forget, go Hawks. You know that. But beyond that, this team can come together. This team's showing signs of life. This team has talent. I think there's some schematic problems defensively, and maybe it's a little light in the box as far as the talent on that side of the ball goes. But it's a long NFL year, 17 long games. And you never know how exactly it could wash out when it's all said and done. When the injuries wash out, this quarterback gets lost here, that quarterback gets lost here, and everybody thought they were going to last all year. You never know. You just want to be in the fight. Hang around through the first part of this year. Let's see what happens. Let's see if maybe Johnny Boy up there in the front office, let's see if he can maybe pull a couple of levers and strings, help this team out a little bit as he has in the past, even into the course of middle of the year. Because this team is never not out on the look to try to add some more talent to this particular football team. But a fantastic win. Feel good about this, Seahawks fans. Revel a little bit today. We may not get many opportunities to revel. So revel when you get that chance.
You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Another game.